Cops of Reddit, what are some of the best worst ways people have tried to get out of getting a ticket from you? My dad was pulled over going way too fast on the interstate late at night, like 1 to 2 am. He is an anesthesiologist and got called into work because someone had been shot. It turned out that the person who had been shot was a cop. And so not only did my dad not receive a ticket, he got a police escort to the hospital, and he has refused to tell me exactly how fast they went. Hearing that story as a kid made me think my very by the book awkward dad was super cool. I once got caught speeding and told the cop how embarrassing it was, but I really had to go number 2, which was true. He took my info and said with a little smile, "You can go. You'll receive the ticket by mail." It has been 6 months now and still nothing. Did he gracefully change his mind? And NBSP. Edit. I just went to the police station and they told me to call the city. I called the city. And they told me that there is nothing on my record. But to still make sure with the provincial cop, since it was on the highway bridge, and that they had up to a year to send me that ticket. The office is closed today, so we shall wait and see. Put brethren. And NBSP. Edit 2. I received a post office notice yesterday and went to get the letter just 10 minutes ago. TADAA. It's the ticket. Probably want to call the police sheriff's department to make sure there isn't one. Last thing you need is a warrant. Pulled over in an unregistered vehicle. They tried to offer me money. Behind me was a very large group of students watching on. All of them had access to my microphone to hear what was going on. I tried to explain this to the driver. He simply wouldn't listen or didn't understand. Not that it would have made a difference, but I would have preferred to avoid having to arrest him for a stupid mistake. He ended up getting arrested for a range of charges. Edit. The student were police academy students from NSW, Australia. We had lots that fortnight because reasons. They could hear the radio mic on my chest to see how I dealt with certain situations. Do you know why I pulled you over? So it wouldn't be so windy while we talked? Co-worker of mine was speeding one day on a southbound highway. Told the cop, "Hey man, I know you got to give me a ticket, but please write out for northbound, or else my wife will think I'm cheating on her." The cop laughed and told him to slow down and let him off. He was not married, nor was he even seeing anybody. Smart. He could then dispute the ticket and prove he wasn't on the northbound. Get dispatched to an accident and find a Corolla flipped onto its roof. Driver was sitting on the curb with very minor injuries and no one else was hurt in the collision. I ended up arresting driver for DUI. She was 19 and this was her 3rd DUI. Her response: "Why are we wasting each other's time? Just let me go. It's not like I killed anyone." Unfortunately, with the way the courts work in L.A. County, she was probably going to get off without any consequences. Someone I knew was trying to get out of drinking and driving. She went up to the cop and was like, "Listen, we're all white here." Needless to say, she went to jail. Flirting is always bad, but is especially bad when the driver is really old, really young, or has their family in the car with them. I don't consider myself to be super attractive, but people will do anything to get out of a ticket. Threatening the officer is also pretty bad. That's happened before. Sometimes it is threatening to kill my family if I write them a ticket. But sometimes people get a little more creative. Some racist people assume that I am an illegal immigrant and threaten to report me if I write them a ticket. That one always makes me laugh. Bribing is always interesting. Some of the things people come up with are actually kind of funny. As a driver, had cop pull me over. I was 17 roughly. Driving my mom's new car at almost 30 over in a residential area. Cop walks up. Asks if it's a new car. Yup. Bet you can't even hear the engine when it gets going. Yup. Steering is probably pretty good. Right? Yup. etc. for several more questions. Then just walks back to his car and drives off. His point was well established. But it was weird as hell to me at the time. I literally never offered one excuse. He did. And I just sat there answering yup. 0% financing for the first 6 months? Yup. Do great deals tend to distract you? Yup. Does going fast help you forget about your parents' recent divorce? Yup. Not a cop. But I've seen many of my ex's ways on avoiding tickets, and she has avoided many tickets. Her best escape was by faking being mute, and fortunately, she knows sign language. Most cops would feel bad ticketing her, so they just let her go. While I feel bad for those cops. Fair enough. I mean, if she was deaf, how was she supposed to hear the speed limit signs? One lady yelled and cursed at me while saying I was wasting my time dealing with her when I should be getting the real bad and dangerous drivers out there. She was stopped for going 17 miles per hour over in an active school zone. Edit. Normal speed limit equals 45 miles per hour. Active school zone equals 25 miles per hour. She was going 42 miles per hour. This particular school zone is only active for 2 hours at a time. Twice a day. She was weaving through the 3 lanes of 25 miles per hour traffic. Kinda hard to explain that she didn't know. Only a cadet. But I do go on ride-alongs. Someone tried to get out of a ticket by using religion. They had said that they were a great Christian and didn't deserve a ticket. Called us evil. Got a ticket. Anytime a person proclaims they are a good Christian, I know they are about to try something shady. My dad once pulled over a woman who claimed she had diarrhea, and that's why she was driving so fast. He's an understanding guy, so naturally he let her drive home. But followed her and wrote the ticket there. Not a cop. But a friend was once stopped for a broken headlight. In my country there's a fine for that. He didn't know what to do, so he got out of his car, no paranoid police here, and told the officer that the light does that sometimes and kicked it. It actually f***ing worked. The light turned back on and he was off his way. Not a cop. But I've been pulled over 5+ times and have never had a ticket. I also have several family friends who are officers. 2 best pieces of advice I have. 1. Be as perfectly respectful and polite as you can. Please, thank you. Yes sir ma'am, no sir ma'am. 2. If it is nighttime, this is not the car you're looking for. In an Obi-Wan Kenobi impression with the hand wave. The coolest thing I witnessed a friend do that worked and got him out of a speeding ticket. The officer tried hard not to crack, then just bent over below the window line where we couldn't see him but could hear him laugh. He then raised himself and said, "You have a good day." Then left. Am I being detained, officer? Yes. Something along the lines of, well, FCK. He literally thought asking if he was being detained would get him out of a ticket. Like the YouTube videos he'd been watching. I guess you could say it worked. Because instead of a ticket he got a summons to court. I had a lady offer me a job once. A real one. Motorist, why aren't you out catching murderers? I'm a veteran and rolled through a stop sign near the VA hospital. It was at a T section and everyone always only looked in the one direction and rolled through, and this cop knew that and was waiting. He would just walk onto the road and point at you and tell you to pull over, then give you a ticket. On this day he caught me and the lady behind me. We pull over. He checks her ID, then approaches my vehicle and asks me for mine. I gave him my license and he posits whether I have any other forms of ID. Full stop. I hand him my veteran's card. He takes a look, then hands both back and says if she said I'd let her off too. Remember to come to a complete stop next time. Have a good day. Bud. Plot twist. She was my wife and I still ended up paying the ticket. I love the video of the woman talking to an officer that pulled her over for failure to stop. I thought you didn't give pretty girls tickets? Pardon me? I thought you didn't give pretty girls tickets? You didn't think we gave pretty girls tickets? You're absolutely right. We don't. Sign here. Former highway patrol officer. More than anything, I've had people say they are in a hurry to get to the bathroom. On more than one occasion. They've even gone as far as to piss themselves in hopes to avoid a ticket. This worked for me once. Though I legitimately was bursting at the seams needing to pee. I'd been at the hospital and had drank a whole mess of water for an ultrasound. Not thinking. I got in my car and halfway home was dying. I even saw the cop but didn't slow down since my house was 1 minute away. He pulled up, no lights, as I was leaping out of the car saying, "Yes Irisor I bit I really need to pee welcome back if I need to return a ticket bit to get to go." He laughed. Told me not to do it again and thankfully I made it to the bathroom in time. Man, I'm glad you weren't the cop that stopped me. I was like a mile from home. Going about 12:77/65 over trying to keep from pooping my pants. When he came to the window and I told him the situation, he waved me on with a slow down. Also not a cop. But my best friend got out of a ticket for accidentally flashing a boob at the officer. She had just gotten a tattoo that went around the outside of her breast and couldn't wear a bra while it was healing. She was pulled over for speeding and while nervously trying to get her ID, insurance, and registration her boob fell out of her tank top. The police officer kept trying to get her attention and she got frustrated and sort of yelled, "Yes, I know. License and registration. Give me a minute." And the officer responded with, "Miss, please, your shirt." She looked down, became beet red, and quickly tucked her boob back in and handed him her paperwork without trying to make any eye contact. The officer started laughing BC he realized she was incredibly embarrassed and not actually trying to flash him, so he told her just to slow it down and let her go. She's gotten out of a few other tickets pretty ingeniously. But that's my favorite story. Edit. A word. Sorry. Didn't catch my autocorrect. Not a cop, but someone I know got pulled over doing about 80 in a 50. And when the officer approached his window and asked, "Why were you driving so fast?" this person's response was, "Sorry officer. I was trying to get my flux capacitor up to speed." The cop didn't find it very funny. One gave me a get out of jail Monopoly card. Let him off with a warning. What else could I do? He had the card. I crested a hill going 85 in a 70 only to see an officer sitting on the side of the road in his Ford Explorer. I knew he had me. So I pulled over before he could even pull out and turn his lights on. When he came up to my window he noticed a little helicopter sticker on the side of my car. Seeing the sticker he asked me, "They let you drive like that on Fort Rucker?" It was a pretty good assumption since that's where Army flight school is. And I was about an hour away from the base. Of course, me being smart and not stationed there anymore, replied, "I don't know sir. I'm stationed at Fort Benning." To which he fired back, "They let you drive like that on Fort Benning?" I gave him a chuckle and a "No sir. Let me go" with a verbal warning. Overall it was a 8/10 experience. Would do over. I merged right yielding to an ambulance with lights sirens going. I merged over right in front of a cop. Slightly closer than I would have liked but perfectly safe given our speeds. His lights weren't on. I signaled and moved over after a brief look in the mirror. He instantly put his lights on and pulled me over. By the time he walked up the ambulance had gone by and he admitted when he got up to my car that he hadn't heard the siren and thought I was just cutting him off. Since he had already lit me up he felt like he had to pull me over and explain. He apologized for the hassle and let me go. One time a dude made a documentary to prove his innocence. But it didn't work. Not a cop, but I got out of a ticket on the way to the midnight premiere of Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. I was dressed as Gandalf and the officer told me to slow down or I shall not pass. We had a laugh and he let me go after giving me a warning. Small town cops are the best. I was once pulled over for a rolling stop through a stop sign at an otherwise empty intersection. The cop said to me something along the lines of, "You shouldn't be driving like that with your daughter in the car with you." I then let him know that she was actually my wife and not my daughter. He turned a shade of red very similar to the lights on the roof of his car, told us to have a nice day, and went back to his car. Humor and or embarrassment can usually get you out of a ticket as long as it's respectful. Not a cop. But the cop at the courthouse where we got our licenses told us this one. In Virginia you can have only one non-family member under 18 in the car until you are 18. He pulled over this kid in his parents' van filled with his friends who definitely were not 18. He asked the kid if these were all his brothers and sisters. The kid turned to him and said, "In the eyes of God we are." He didn't get a ticket. My sister tells the story of blowing a cop to get out of a ticket. He kept on pulling her over after that. Your family has weird conversations. Best cop moment. My best friend committed suicide after a problem with his girlfriend. No, I will not go into details. His brother. My brother. Got a call from mom saying she saw the girlfriend and was having a panic attack and couldn't breathe. We go fkin max 7 up and down this 18-mile road to get to her and I'm driving like a lunatic with my hazards on. Of course. Get pulled over. 80 miles per hour in a 55. Officer asks what going on. We explain. He checks ID, insurance, etc. Makes sure I'm not impaired. And then says, "Follow me. You've got an escort. But do not go past me." Fkin greatest act of kindness to a stranger. Obligatory not a cop but. My father once got out of a ticket by pretending to be a Catholic priest. He is not Catholic but uses some of the same liturgical dress and is easily mistaken for a priest when wearing a clerical shirt and collar. When he was pulled over for speeding, he made sure the cop saw his collar and his cane. The cop didn't want to give a ticket to a sick priest and just let him go on without a warning. My father replied with "Bless you, my son," and went on his merry way. TL. Let me pet their doggo. Edit. I'm a stranger on the internet and I lied. I'm not even a cop. You've just demonstrated to me why I can never work in law enforcement. Well, you were going 88 in a 35. You're clearly on some kind of high-powered hallucinogenic and I'm fairly certain that's blood on your bumper. But anybody with such a good dog couldn't possibly be all bad. Just be more careful next time. Hey. Got some real crazies on the road tonight. Not a cop. But I tried a pretty lame excuse when I was 18. I stumbled upon a 3 cars going 75 in a 60 and I decided to hang with them for a while. We're all hightailing it in a pack when the guy behind me pulls into the slow lane and there's a sheriff car behind me. Now he's riding me and I'm in cruise control at 75 sweating bullets. The guy to my right drops back a bit and I shift into the slow lane to watch the sheriff car blaze past me at around 90. I don't know what to think. So we all get back into position and about 30 minutes later a policeman does a U-turn and pulls us all over. My door panel is off on the driver's side. So I just tell this guy that I'm doing electrical work and my speedometer is part of it. So it isn't working right and I'm trying to keep speed with everyone else. He didn't buy it and I feel like an idiot. Not a cop. But my buddy and me were driving an old and registered uninsured Beetle once and got pulled over. Before the cop could ask anything my friend rolls down the window and says, "How long is this going to take? I'm afraid I'm going to run out of gas." The cop then says, "Turn off the engine." My friend replies, "If I turn off the car it won't start again without a jump and may not even start at all." Cop waved us off at that point. Civilian who has gone away with a warning the last 3 times I was pulled over, which spans about 20 years. I've never tried to get out of it. I've just been myself. The most recent time I got pulled over for going 55 in a 35, unfamiliar territory that looked like it was headed out into the country but turned the corner and was in the middle of a suburb. I was visibly angry with myself when the cop told me it was a 35 zone and he let me go. Not me but my late friend. He was a huge Star Wars fan. And noticed a sticker on the back of a speeder he had just pulled over. This was the day the new movie came out. So Eli, my buddy, was pumped and brought it up to the dude he pulled over. After talking for a bit, the speeder tried the Jedi mind trick and said, You will not give me a ticket a few times while waving his hand. Eli then said, I will not give you a ticket, and gave the dude his information back without giving him a ticket. Sadly, this story was told in the last text message Eli sent in a group text with his brother and buddies, and passed away a few hours later after hydroplaning and crashing on his way to a domestic dispute. Totally fitting last move for an amazing dude. R.I.P. Eli. Gone too soon.